There is a sound in the world that our ears are not trained to perceive. It does not arrive with the force of thunder, nor does it carry the emptiness of a vacuum. It is the quiet that settles between spoken words, the delicate and often unnoticed pause after a deep intake of breath. This gentle quietness has a peculiar weight, felt more than heard. In a small, secluded town, nestled among rolling green hills, there stood an old bell tower on the highest peak. For as long as anyone could remember, the great bronze bell had faithfully rung out every hour, its deep, resonant tone marking the passage of time for everyone below. The townspeople had built their lives around its predictable chime, started their work by its morning call, took their midday meal by its noon declaration, ended their day with its final evening peal. The bell was the town's heartbeat, a constant, reassuring voice that connected them all. One autumn, however, a crack appeared in the ancient metal. After one last mournful clang, the bell fell silent. At first, the town was disoriented by the abrupt absence of sound. People found themselves pausing at the top of the hour, waiting for a call that never came. A strange and unsettling emptiness seemed to hang in the air, and the residents missed the familiar sound that had structured their days for generations. But as days turned into weeks, the deep silence began to work a subtle magic. With the great bell no longer commanding their attention, the townspeople started to notice other, quieter sounds. They heard the gentle whisper of the wind through the tall grasses on the hill, the cheerful chirping of sparrows in the eaves, the distant, soothing rush of the river at the edge of the woods. Slowly, a few curious individuals began to climb the hill to the silent tower. They would stand beside the broken bell, not speaking, simply looking out at their town spread below. From this quiet vantage point, the world seemed different. The silence made them see things with a new clarity, to notice details that had been lost in the shadow of the bell's hourly pronouncement. They saw the intricate patterns of the fields, the way the smoke curled from their neighbors' chimneys, the slow, deliberate pace of life itself. The quiet did not simply remove a sound. It created a space that allowed them to see the true weight and substance of their world, stripping away the distraction of a loud external clock. This newfound quietude began to change the people themselves. A young baker, no longer listening for the bell to tell her when to take her bread from the oven, began to listen to the dough instead. She learned its soft sighs and subtle shifts, discovering a deeper, more intuitive connection to her craft. A school teacher, in the quiet of her classroom, started watching her students more closely, learning not from their spoken answers but from their quiet expressions what they truly needed to understand. A man who had spent his life talking found himself sitting by the river, saying nothing, simply watching the light dance upon the water. In that silent communion, he began to understand the currents of his own life a little more clearly. So, why does silence possess this inherent and often underestimated power? The first reason is that silence creates room. Our minds are constantly bombarded with information, opinions, demands for our attention. When we intentionally choose not to speak and not to consume noise, we are carving out a precious, empty space within our own consciousness. It is within this mental clearing that we can finally see things with greater clarity. We can feel our own emotions more deeply, untangled from the reactions of others. We can hear the unspoken words, the subtle cues in another person's posture or expression that reveal more than speech ever could. Silence is the canvas upon which nuanced understanding is painted. The second pillar of silent power is its ability to make us steady. A person who is comfortable with quiet does not feel the compulsive need to rush into every conversation or to react to every provocation. They possess the rare ability to wait, to observe, and to let a situation unfold before they choose to act. It keeps us firm and grounded, like an old oak tree when the winds of chaos and urgency blow around us. while others are swept up in the immediate emotional reaction. The quiet person remains anchored, able to make decisions from a place of stability and foresight rather than panic. This steadiness naturally commands respect and trust. Thirdly, silence inevitably becomes a signal in itself, a form of communication that is often louder than words. When a person who is typically talkative and engaged suddenly becomes quiet, everyone in the room takes notice. Their silence cuts through the noise, creating a moment of tension and anticipation. People instinctively lean in, their attention heightened, waiting to hear what will come next. In this way, a deliberate silence can function as a quiet command, drawing focus and imbuing the words that eventually follow with a much greater sense of weight and importance. The scarcity of one's words makes each one more valuable. We are wired to notice anomalies, and in a world saturated with noise, silence is the ultimate anomaly. It disrupts our expectations and forces us to recalibrate our attention. A silent pause in a speech can emphasize a key point more effectively than raising one's voice. A silent response to an accusation can be more unsettling and powerful than a loud denial. Silence forces the other person to confront their own words, their own thoughts, and the emptiness between you. It is a mirror that reflects back whatever is projected at it. It is crucial to understand that silence is not merely the cessation of sound, it is a profound form of attention. When we offer someone our quiet presence, we are sending a powerful message. I am here with you. I am watching and listening. I will not rush you or fill this space with my own needs. This kind of silence can be a gentle, healing hand offered to someone in pain, giving them the space they need to process their grief without the pressure to perform for an audience. In its most guarded form, it is the sacred vault, where secrets are kept safe. In the solemnity of a courtroom, a judge's call for silence changes the very atmosphere, making the words that follow feel heavier. In a corporate meeting, the individual who waits, listens, and speaks last often guides the entire conversation. However, we must approach this power with wisdom and caution. We must distinguish between intentional silence and the silence of avoidance or retreat. True, constructive silence bravely faces difficult things, listens to their challenging truths, and learns from them, then moves into thoughtful, deliberate action. There are as many kinds of silence as there are sounds. There is the tense, electric silence, and the deep, respectful silence that connects everyone present. We must choose to create pockets of silence in our noisy lives. Wake up a little earlier than usual. Sit, breathe, listen to the morning. In your conversations, talk a little less and notice a little more. Watch how people respond not only to your words, but to your pauses. A mirror holds a quiet and impartial truth. Its power lies in its stillness, its passive ability to reveal. Which hidden law do you feel in your own life? This is the hidden laws.